Yeah.
He's doing.
He used to come to class this year. I haven't seen him in a long time. Give him my regards.
Yeah, well.
Tell him I remember him.
Okay. Hold on.
But he better come back before I forget.
Yeah, he's in an interesting place right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we learned a story about Graf Bertutsky, right? So let's sing something fast. Lulei Soy Rabas Chashavai. It's one of Shlomo's earliest recorded songs. Azavaditi Deyani Lulei Soy Rabas Chashavai. Azavaditi Deyavani Lulei Shamashuai Azavaditi Deyani Lulei Shamashuai Azavaditi Deyavani Lulei Rabas Chashavai Azavaditi Deyavani Lulei Rabas Shamashuai Azavaditi Deyavani Lulei Rabas Shamashuai Azavaditi Deyani Lulei Rabas Shamashuai Azavaditi Deyavani. Is that what it means? 92?
Had your
If not for what?
Had your Torah not been my preoccupation, then I would have perished in my affliction.
Can you get to there, please? Okay, page 257. Here, there's a plastic chair over here if you want.
Thank you very much.
So, the other day we did the story with Graf Bertutsky. Were you here for that, Ben?
What day was it? It was only your Sunday.
Yes, it was on Tuesday.
It was on Tuesday, yeah.
We're here Monday.
Monday.
Okay, so here's an amazing story. Birshutchem, third line on the page.
257?
Yeah. ברשותכם הייתי רוצה לחזור לעניין של מדידת הכלים. So I want to go back to what we spoke about before, about measuring vessels. In other words, אם אני רוצה capacity, mental capacity. אם אני רוצה להיות professor, let's say for example I want to be a professor, אז אני צריך IQ גבוה. So I need a high IQ. אם אני רוצה ללמוד באוניברסיטה טובה, I want to study at a good university, יבדקו את כושר התפיסה, they're going to check out my ability to comprehend things. And ואת יכולת החשיבה שלי, my thinking abilities, אבל התורה היא משהו אחר. But Torah is something else. Torah is something else. בתורה זה רק תלוי בכמה רצון יש לך. The amount of Torah that you're going to learn is going to be dependent only on how much do you want to know it. יש אלפי סיפורים על יהודים שנהיו רבנים גדולים. There's thousands of stories about Jews who became great rabbis, בגיל מבוגר מאוד, at a very advanced age. In other words, there are people that may have started studying or learning when they were young, and they didn't get it, and they didn't get it, and they didn't get it, and then finally at some point it all opened up for them. So what was being said earlier was that the configuration of the divine name for the month of Sivan is Yud Vav Hei Hei, which, without going into the Kabbalah, which I'm not really capable of anyway, but what Reb Shlomo explains is that what that signifies, you see the 4 letters of the divine name, there's 12 permutations for each one for each month. And the way the permutation shows us how the divine flow is coming down into the world. Now the Yud and the Vav is the receiving channel. Yud is where it's emanating from. So it's coming direct. In other words, so Reb Shlomo said, if you think that you can only know so much Torah because all you got is Nebuch, 130 IQ, which is pretty good. And you think, oh, well, I'm only just so smart and therefore I can only know just so much Torah. So he says, then you weren't at Mount Sinai. Because if you would be at Mount Sinai, you would know that it's not a matter of your capacity, it's not a matter of your IQ, it's a matter of how much do you want it. So he's going to tell the story about this. Yesh Sipur al Rabbi Pesach Kabriner. There was a rabbi, Rabbi Pesach Kabriner, שהיה בין הראשי הישיבות הגדולים לפני מלחמת העולם השנייה. He was among the great Rosh Yeshivas, heads of Talmudic academies before the Second World War. הוא היה נינו של רבי הקדוש, רבינו הקדוש רבי משה מקברין. He was a grandson of this Hasidic Rebbe, Reb Moshe of Kabrin. בזמנו היה נהוג, in his time, the custom was that שכל הנכדים של הצדיקים, the grandchildren of the holy tzadikim, היו יושבים ולומדים. They would sit in the yeshiva and study, מתחתנים, then they would get married, וממשיכים ללמוד כאברכים, and they would continue learning as young married people. In other words, it was accepted that they should be among the people who spend their lives learning. הדבר הכי עצוב היה, but the saddest thing was, שרבי פסח התקשה בלימוד. רבי פסח of Kabrin had a hard time learning. ולא הצליח לזכור את מה שהוא למד, and he didn't manage to remember what he learned. הוא כבר התחתן, and he was already married, and he barely knew how to read. The Shavarat Libo, it broke his heart when he saw Lastiret and he tried to hide it. But everybody knew that he can't even read properly. You know, my friends, sometimes people can be very cruel. So one night, he was sitting in the study hall. What do you call it? The Zal?
We have a Zal. We have Titel.
Huh? Zal means a hall.
Yiddish,
it's Yiddish for a hall. In the Lubavitcher Yeshivas, the study hall is called the Zal. Zal. So he was sitting in the study hall. And some guys started to make fun of him. One of them came over and asked him, can you explain this commentary and this Tosfos commentary on this passage? So he tried to read it, but he couldn't even read the words properly. He was so broken, right? And they were making fun of him. It was a winter night, cold winter night. He wasn't wearing a coat. He didn't care how cold it was. He ran out into the dark, cold forest. He fell down under a tree. And he cried, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, Lama ata mevayesh oti kol kach? Why are you embarrassing me so much? Ani lo boche biglal habusha. I'm not crying because of the shame I felt. Ani boche, I'm crying ki ani kol kach rotze ladat et haTorah. I'm crying because I so much want to know the Torah. I'm begging you, open the gates of Torah for me. And as a result of that prayer that night, in a matter of a few years, he became one of the greatest Talmudical geniuses and scholars. In other words, that's the point of the story. How much do you want it? Are you ready to cry? Are you ready to cry for it? Right? Everybody heard about these two great yeshiva heads, Reb Baruch Ber and Reb Shimon Shkop. They were awesome scholars. Mishu Amar li Pam. Somebody told me once, Shekol hagonim ha'ele hayu gonim pi sheva mi Einstein. That all these great Rosh Yeshiva leaders, they were 7 times as brilliant as Einstein. Hu hikir ishit et mori v'Rabbi Hagaon Rabbi Aaron Kotler. This man knew my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Aaron Kotler. V'gam hikir ishit et Einstein, and he also knew Einstein personally. And he said to me, I swear to you, it's Rabbi Aaron who's Sheva Pamim Einstein. But Rabbi Aaron is like 7 times Einstein. Rabbi Aaron Hayamadhim. Rabbi Aaron was unbelievably awesome. Gaonut Shalot Tu'uman. Unbelievable genius. HaKadosh Baruch Hu natan lo kol kach harbe omek b'koach. God gave him such depth of wisdom and energy. Hakol biglal koach haratzon. But it was all because of the power of desire, of will. So what are we doing on Shavuot night? We're not learning with our heads. It's possible that I have no idea what the Torah is actually telling me. what I'm doing, I'm just saying, שלושת הפסוקים הראשונים והאחרונים של התורה, I'm reading the first 3 verses and the last 3 verses of each portion of the Torah. מבקש מהקדוש ברוך הוא, and I'm begging of God, ריבונו של עולם, master of the world, תאיר לי, enlighten me, שאבין את המשמעות של התורה, that I should understand the meaning of the Torah. תאיר לי, enlighten me, כדי שאהיה מקושר לכל ספר, enlighten me that I should be connected with every book of the Torah. לכל מסכת, every book of every volume of Talmud. לכל משנה, or לכל אות של התורה, I want to be connected with every Mishnah, with every letter of Torah. תדעו, you should know, שליל שבועות הוא ממש מיוחד וקדוש. The night of Shavuot is very special and holy. מה שאי אפשר להספיק בחיים שלמים, things which you cannot achieve in an entire lifetime, אפשר לעשות בליל שבועות אחד, you can achieve on one night of Shavuos. אני מברך אתכם ואותי, so I'm blessing you and myself, שאור התורה יאיר לתוכנו, that the light of the Torah should illumine into us, ועומקי עומקים, to the deepest depths. Reb Shlomo once, he was a student by Reb Cutler in Lakewood. Speaking about Lakewood, I got to do something for Ayelet. Forgot. He says that everybody was up and learned the entire first night of Shavuot, goes without saying. That everybody in the yeshiva was up the second night. The majority of them stayed up for the second night as well. And then there were 10 of them that didn't stop learning through the third night, like the night which was already after Shavuos. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, Reb Cutler came into the Bais Medrash and he said that there were still 10 guys that were still studying. So he was so inspired that he gave them a shiur, he gave them a lecture right there on the spot, So we learned in the Maimer that we studied before I left on my trip. We were learning that Torah is not just information. It's not just information. It's, somebody's at the door.
Mother-in-law just passed on Shabbat.
His granddaughter? I mean, the original commander? We just finished learning the last story on Shavuot, so we're just going over some Yemen. So we were learning that Torah is not just information, it's Hashem himself. It's the essence of God. That's the Gemara, you should know. The Gemara says that the word Anochi, the first word of the 10 Commandments, is an acronym. It's Rashi Tevot. Ana, Nafshi, Ktavit, Yahavit. I, my nefesh, my essence, in writing and giving to you. In other words, God put himself into the Torah, in the words of the Torah. So you could, if somebody's sitting and learning there and saying, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? And what is it saying? And it's all just intellectual, then going back to your question that you asked me before we started, this, if at some point Yeshua comes and says, it's just all intellectual, But it's really all, if it's just intellectual, it's not even the Torah. Like we learned in the Maimer, Haomeir Einli Ela Torah. If someone says, all I have is Torah, in other words, meaning to say, my relationship is only with the intellectual aspect of Judaism. So the Gemara says, Afilu Torah Ein Lo, even Torah he doesn't have. In other words, the Torah that he knows is not really Torah, it's not real Torah. You remember the story with Reb Shlomo Eger? Reb Shlomo Eger was a grandson of Rabbi Akiva Eger, the son of Reb Shlomo Eger, and he became a chassid. He went. Remember the story? He went to Kotsk, and it was Yom Kippur. Davening is over, and he's sitting in the Beis Medrash and he's learning, and some chassidim are sleeping on the benches, and somebody comes in with a bottle of wine.
Yeah, that was the first story.
Remember that one?
Yeah, that was way back.
Way back. And he goes over to the guy, this friend who's sleeping on the bench, he gives him a shove. He says, Michael, we got to make Kiddush. And Michael says, leave me alone. I'm just too tired. Michael, it's Yom Kippur night, the holiest night of the year. We got to make Kiddush. Yeah. Okay, let's do it fast. And the label is sitting there, and he's like, what's going on here? And the guy, he's watching, and the guy actually pours his friend a cup of wine, and he picks it up. He says, okay, let's do it fast. I want to go back to sleep. So Rima run on Baruch, and Reb Leibel screams, stop! And they look at him, what do you want? What's your problem? You're not allowed to do that. Who said? It says in Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law. Get out of here, kid. Come on, Michael, hurry up. Kiddush. Starts again. So Rima run Baruch Aton, Reb Leibel screams, stop! What do you want? What's your problem? You're not allowed to do that. Who said? It says in the Torah. Kids, get out of here. Come on, Michael, Kiddush. So Rima run Baruch Aton Adoi, and he screams, stop! What's your problem, young guy? You're not allowed to do that. Who said? And he says, God said. Oh, God said. They put it down. That's how he was initiated. You know? In other words, is it who you're learning Torah? Is it like you're learning math? Is it like you're learning physics? What are you doing? Are you learning God's words? And the whole point of the Torah is Vayeret Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem came down to Mount Sinai. Hashem presented himself to us, made himself accessible so that we can actually absorb his divine lights into our physical being through the Torah. But that is not a matter of intellectual capacity. That's the point of the story. It's a matter of how much do you want it? How much are you praying for it? How much do you want it? Now, before the Torah was given, you could have moments where you have like some spiritual enlightenment, you know, but they don't last. But with Torah, you can learn Torah and also have moments and it doesn't last. But if you really want to make it last, if you really want to absorb it into your being, it's possible to achieve it. Because that's exactly the meaning of the gift of the Torah. That's what changed. Before, heaven was heaven, earth was earth, spirituality was spirituality, earth was mundane and worldly, and the two didn't mix. You were either going out there to be totally spiritual, or you were just here. And even if you had like moments of spirituality, it was also like, like all about yourself, and they didn't last. But with the giving of the Torah, Hashem gave us the ability to actually bring, to receive, to draw Him into our being. In other words, not so much in other words, but along related to this. Remember, we learned about Ratzo and Shov. Ratzo is inspiration, Shav is application. Literally, Ratzo is rushing. Remember the angel, Yecheskel saw the angels rushing towards God and then coming back. Rushing and coming back, right? So in other words, there is inspiration. You get inspired, and then you got to come back and apply it, right? Now, tzaddikim have they experience which is something that's called klot hanefesh, the expiring of the soul. They're in such intense love with God that their soul just can't hang around in the body anymore. They want to just leave their body. Huh?
They die.
They want to. But Hashem says to them, you want to be with me, that's great. But I want to be with you, with your soul, in your body, in this world. So the tzaddik says, well, okay, I love you so much, I'll do what you want instead of you doing what I want.
Doesn't everyone's soul want, like, on that?
Because
isn't it more?
But the question is, does everyone experience that? No. We're talking about experiencing that. You're actually like
with the.
But you're like, like Shlomo's like, come on, I just, enough of this. I want to just be with my source, right? So, like by the end of the day, maybe you have 5 seconds like that, but if you're lucky. Yeah. Okay.
5 seconds is great.
So before the Torah was given, you could have moments of that, but it wouldn't last. That's the way the Baal Shem Tov explains the exile of Egypt, is that our consciousness was an exile, our consciousness of God, right? You're doing the mitzvah, you're learning Torah, you're davening, and you're so conscious of God, and then you finish davening, and what happened to your consciousness? Where did it go? Right? Where did it go? So the avoided the work is to get it and to keep it and to maintain it, right? And that's a function of that's the gift of the Torah, but it's not just that it's the gift of the Torah, but we have to learn it with great thirst and with great yearning. In other words, if it's like in the story with the Pesach Kabriner, he became the biggest Talmud Chacham because he really cried over it. He really wanted it, right? So when Hashem gave us the Torah, the idea is take it, receive it. But somebody says, but you're not smart enough. It has nothing to do with that. If you really want it, Hashem will give you the software necessary, the hardware that you're going to need. I once had this experience when I was in my last year of high school in yeshiva. I don't mean to disparage anybody right now, but I noticed that our Rebbe was encouraging some of my friends that they shouldn't go right into university. They should stay and study in yeshiva for another year. So one day I go over to him and I say, I have good news for you. He says, what? I decided that I'm going to come back and learn for another year too. And he looks at me and he says, how are you going to make a living? Now, I understand where he's coming from. But basically what he was saying to me was, you're not on the caliber. You're not of the caliber that you should be studying for another year. You should go out there and learn your trade or profession or whatever it is. And according to what we're learning here today, his answer was totally inappropriate. And a year later, I was visiting Toronto again, and I actually went to see him, and I told him off. I mean, politely. When I told him off, I said, what business did you have to say that to me? If somebody wants to learn for another year, and you tell them that, oh, you're not, you're not on the level, right? Huh? And that's what happens. That you're a teacher, So you know these things. Let me tell you this. You know why I don't play guitar?
Someone told you can't.
Because first of all, you should know that somebody told me when I was 18. I always loved to sing. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that you can't sing. You're always off tune. For years, I didn't sing afterwards.
This is terrible. First, listen. So let's start fixing. It's your card will start.
You also think I can sing? No.
Even if first of all, you can sing. Well, you could.
You're talking about
If
guitar.
you can't sing, most people can sing.
I know. When I started singing again, you're
Yeah.
talking about guitar. I know. I started taking guitar lessons.
No, you definitely have to.
After the second lesson, or in the second lesson, the teacher said, "What's wrong with you?
Right.
Why can't you do this?" And also for my bar mitzvah, I had 4 half-hour lessons for my bar mitzvah. My bar mitzvah was in the middle of summer, so in June I had 4 half-hour lessons.
Now,
At the second lesson, the teacher looked at me.
where do you get these people? You have great mouth. So this is
My bar mitzvah was such a mess, you wouldn't believe it. Yeah, 3 psukim.
All right.
You can do it again.
I was totally off.
Nobody cares.
You can do it.
Nobody
Listen,
cares.
it was so bad that Marilyn Monroe committed suicide on my
Oh,
birthday.
You can
All right.
do Chuka. I don't know if you can bring them back to life.
Comes to the top, right?
You can have another one. I had another one.
I'm not worried about it. I'm fine with it,
I played trumpet, and I still remember that it was 4th grade. I still remember I was laying on my mom's bed with my mom, and she got a call. She's like, "It's the music teacher." She turns to me. She goes, "Then you're not going to be in band anymore."
When you were 4, you were in
That
band?
was 4th grade. Yeah,
Oh, 4th grade.
4th grade. So
Anyway, no, I know that I have an ear, but but it took me years.
Yeah, you get off.
It took me years to get over.
Yeah, it's murder. It's a bone.
I don't have a perfect ear. I don't have this and that. I mean, for example, half notes and things like that. I get lost and so on. But when I was teaching in elementary school, and what happened was that the music teacher had quit, and the kids wanted that music, so I used to bring in recordings so that they can sing along. And one day I found myself singing along, and I just realized, I can sing.
Of course you can sing. You sing every song.
I know, and I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But you were going to tell a story.
Yeah. So Shlomo said when he was in yeshiva, there was a thing as a klotz
Klotzkasha.
A klotz kasha.
You know what that means?
It's a question in the learning Gemara and the learning Mishnah, which indicates that you know nothing about what's going on.
Do you know what the word klotz means?
What's officially?
Klotz is a log.
Okay, good.
And your head is like
Klotz.
like a log of
log.
wood.
Okay, you think like a log, right? So he says that. So I don't know at what age, at older age, And so this guy made a klotz kasha, and
it's when you ask a question.
It's a stupid
you ask
question.
a question and you don't know nothing.
It's a stupid question.
It's total stupid. But this is on a high level, right? And I don't know who Rebbe was.
Reb Shlomo Hyman.
Right. And he said, instead of humiliating, he says, Gavaldi, he says, did you hear what he's saying? Did you hear what his question is? And he was such a genius that he could put anything into the right way. He
developed the question.
Right? And that was it. And Shlomo didn't see this guy for many, many years. Shlomo says, like many years later, he's on the airplane. He's sitting with this rabbi. Now he's a Rosh Yeshiva somewhere in Yerushalayim.
And he became a scholar.
So and he says to Shlomo, it's kind. He's embarrassed. But Shlomo was like, the ultimate. And so the rabbi says, Shlomo, you remember my klotz kasha? And he says, Shlomo says, yeah, and he says, you remember how Rebbe answered? He said, he gave me so much koach. I was a new person after that.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of stories like that.
Do you know this is it? Self-confidence is everything.
There's one of the rabbis told the story about this guy asked
Let your mother see you.
this guy asked a question, and he's like, he asked a question on a Gemara, and the rabbi answered, he gave him 10 Tolstoys to Tolstoy, and to figure it out, and he's learning them all, and finally he realizes that the only thing that's similar about all 10 of them is that the word idiot is in each and every one.
You serious?
Yeah. Oh, well, you gotta be humble, doing Paris. So now we should get everybody down.
So I'd like to bless everyone that we should all help to raise up our fellows.
Yeah.
Rather than tear them down. Help them become who they have the potential to become who they're meant to be.
Amen. See, there's it's a big mistake in the education system is that that is ranking.
Right.
It's true that some people are going to do better, some people are going to do not as well, and so on. But the whole system should be operating just on ranking rather than on encouragement. Right? And for a lot of people, like I remember when I first became a teacher, I came into grade 5 or grade 7, I said, we're going to learn just because we want to learn. I'm not giving you any tests and so on. This was actually grade 5. The majority of the kids could not handle that because they were already trained that you learn for marks, you learn for reward.
You're in public school or
church school? But still, it's a phenomenon everywhere. People like to get, they want to see that they achieved something, and to be self-motivated to learn just for the sake of learning is a very, very high level.
I was just talking to a friend at the yeshiva, and he's a convert too. He's really feeling like he doesn't. There's a lot of stuff going on with him right now, but one of the big things that we were talking about is he feels like you said this. You said, "What's another line of Gemara gonna get me?" And it was like everything. It's like I need to do this next, and I need to do this next, and I need to get my life on track, and this and that.
It's true. We're challenged all the time.
I think the issue there, if I understand it, something about it is, can I let go and let Hashem be in charge and realize that I don't really know what's important, what's not important. Hashem knows, even though it seems like what's the difference if I do one more little bit of that? Apparently, it's very important. But if I put myself as the arbiter, as the one who decides, it seems silly. But if it's really Hashem, if Hashem wants it, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. It's a wonderful thing. That's hard to do. It's counterintuitive for Western people.
How many musicians do you know that learned to be musicians just because they wanted to, as compared to how many did it because they want to be performers?
All of the, I don't know anybody that wasn't doing it out of love. You don't play music out of love. It's on a high level. I'm coming from a classical background. The amount of work and frustration involved to play like an orchestral instrument, I'm talking about guitar, it's unfathomable. No one would understand. You couldn't believe what it is.
It's a lot of practice, eh?
You're a slave to your instrument. You're a slave. You can't put things down. The old expression is among professional musicians. I don't play one day, I don't know the difference. You don't play 2 days, my colleagues can hear the difference. You don't play 3 days, everybody knows the difference. That's no lie. That's not. If you want to be a professional musician on a professional level, you've made a commitment to this thing. You can't let it down. You're as good as your last note.
So what's the essence ingredient? Is commitment.
It's commitment. It's you have to have a
But you
burning
have to
love-
obviously
burning
have a
love for it.
burning love for it.
A burning love for it. Yes.
That you're willing to make that commitment.
Yeah. Otherwise, because it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, because in guitar you can get results real fast.
Right.
On any other instrument, like playing a violin, beginning on a violin, it sounds like he's torturing a cat. That's what it is. And so I saw an article in the New York Times many years ago. It says, if you can play 3 hours a day violin, and that's with, of course, a really good instrument and a really good teacher, you do that for 7 years, you could get into the Philharmonic. That was back then. I don't know, maybe things are different now because there's even more competition, right? But 3 hours is
So
not like
right.
you're not chopping wood. You have to have extraordinary concentration to get that going. I mean, most people are not going to do that because who knows if I'm even going to get a job.
So you're talking about like becoming real professional at it, right?
Yeah.
And you really have to want to. The same thing, you really have to want to learn. Right?
Of course, that's what. So it's right. So is everything.
Yeah, but whereas I was you're right, and what I was talking about was I've seen people pick up guitars and so on. They play for a couple of years and then they put it away.
Right.
That's because they just wanted to. They wanted to have a little bit of fun or perform and so on.
Yeah. But you can always pick it up again.
Yeah. Right.
Guitar is the most forgiving and it's a great blessing. Guitar is unbelievable because you can play guitar on a very elementary level and make beautiful music with it.
Yeah.
You really can.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have a recorder also.
Recorder takes a lot more work.
The recorder is you're playing because you're playing notes, and your guitar you're playing chords.
Breath control on the recorder can sound play a tune while on guitar recorder is it looks like it's like it's much more challenging.
Anyway, for Shavuot,
I don't play any
you just
instruments.
need to know. For Shavuot, you just need to know Naaseh v'nishma.
Oh man, that's it.
Naaseh v'nishma. That's the main thing. We'll do it, and then we'll understand it afterwards. There's certain things you only understand after doing it for a long time, right?
Totally. Yeah. That's lovely.
Okay. Have a good Yom Tov,
Sure,
everybody.
thank you.
Talk to you.
Yom Tov.
Thank you.
Yom Tov.